Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to PreGaming. I'm joined here by BJ Timberlake. How's it going, BJ?
Not too bad, sir. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me. What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight we have a German beer, Weizenstappen. I have no idea. It's a blonde.
Very cool. I'm on PBR. That's my go-to for this.
It is tradition.
And this week we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch. This is a theme that we've actually been exposed to this for a couple of weeks now. This is early December. We haven't got a ton of info on it. We know that it's going to land sometime in spring. And you and I have been talking about this for a few weeks already. What's your initial impressions about this thing?
Honestly, I think it's a pretty bold step for Nintendo. I mean, at least from the trailer standpoint, it looks like they're trying to target a lot more of a different audience as opposed to their key, just children audience and, some preteens. So, I don't know. I feel like they have a grasp of what they want to do and that they're kind of making, a step to try and go outside of their realm of comfort for once.
Yeah, I actually agree. I'm kind of feeling like this is their attempt, again, to corner the traditional gamer. They've shifted so far off focus about lately, with the 3DS especially, the Wii U, and the Wii were very much bringing more people into the fold. But with this video, they're sending a clear message that they want, okay, here's Skyrim, here's the most hardcore game you can get. And 5 years ago, granted, there's esports, you love that, all this stuff. That is very much outside their comfort zone, especially the last couple of years.
Oh yeah. And the fact that it looks like they're now trying to embrace all these things as opposed to just sort of kind of throwing things on the sideline and just sort of acknowledging it is just like, wow, you guys seem to be kind of paying attention now as opposed to just kind of sticking to your own fad.
And that actually kind of worries me. One thing that I've noticed about Nintendo is that they always seem to be a couple of steps behind. And as somebody who loves Nintendo, I grew up with Nintendo, as I'm sure you do.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to see this company fail. I want Mario to be there my entire life. I want my kids playing with Mario. But the fact is, time and time again, the last, I'd say even 10 or 13 years, or even 15 years back to the GameCube, Nintendo has shown that they're just a little bit behind the step of their competition.
Yeah, and in all fairness, I know they've always had that one common stance on it where it's all about the entertainment value that you're getting from the system and not so much the graphics or the hardware. As long as you're having a good time with people and playing the games that they're coming out with, then they're doing their job right.
Sure. But when you look at something like that we use every day now, like the internet is a great example, like online play. The Wii had a bunch of great games that would have been great online if we didn't have to deal with something huge, and that's friend codes. Who thought of friend codes? How did nobody raise their hand and say, guys, this is not how the environment works today? The PlayStation, the Xbox, they have all these robust online options, and we're stuck in the past because for protecting kids. Maybe I don't know, but I think that's been thrown out the window now too at this point.
Yeah, and it's kind of a funny statement because it seems like friend codes would have been something I would have expected, say, when they probably tried to do internet for the first time on the N64, because ICQ was there back in the day, and that required you to have a number.
So I think that Nintendo's on the right track here. It does worry me. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a system that is not competing with the PlayStation or the Xbox. This is that second system. This is saying you probably already have those, or you have a gaming PC. Here's the other thing that you need in order to play Nintendo games. What they're...
I don't know. I was going to say, I could definitely also see this sort of being like a contender to, what is it, the NVIDIA Shield, or whatever Razer sells as their gaming tablet in a way?
I kind of, I think that they're in the same realm, but at the same time, I don't think the NVIDIA Shield is sold enough to be a competitor or anything.
That's fair.
I think that a lot of what we see here is very similar to those concepts, and this might be the first one that works. In fact, with Nintendo's first-party support, it will work to some extent. It will work better than those previous systems, for sure. To me, the main competitor with this thing is tablets and cell phones, and those things that kids would rather have today. When I think about the customer and who's going to buy this, it's guys our age. It's not kids anymore.
Very true.
And that's what really worries me, is because it's very hard to justify me throwing yet another device into my backpack whenever I go places. This guy's bringing it onto a freaking plane. I don't know if I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, because as it is right now, we bring our laptops, we bring our phones, we possibly bring whatever handheld device we already have from Nintendo, which would be a 3DS at this point. Just having another thing that's essentially the size of a tablet is sort of like, okay, well, what would make me want to have this in my backpack over just my regular tablet? Like, there's got to be a definitive selling point to it, which, you know, they kind of do show some things that make it really cool, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like within a year, a tablet's going to come out and it's going to be able to do exactly this, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah, and no lies, tablets and cell phones are the big competition here, and I think that unless you're doing something when you carry a backpack, I don't really typically carry like a tablet around on me. I always have my phone; it fits in my pocket. It's very specific situations to which I'm going to bring this with me. I'll bring it with me on an airplane, maybe on a train or a bus. But when I think about like the audience that Nintendo loves, which is kids, and getting kids on board with this, I don't think their parents are going to let them take this to school. They're probably going to let them take a cell phone to school, maybe even a tablet. But a Nintendo device has no functionality outside of gaming. And that to me screams, okay, parents are not going to let kids take this out of the house. But for guys our age, I could see us having this along. And the idea of playing some of these great Nintendo games on the go and then plugging it into my house, that does have some merit.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And the other thing is the fact that, it seems like as long as somebody has a dock or something, then you're pretty much set to go to just kind of bring over the system to a friend's house and play it right there. I mean, it does take out that need of having to lug around a huge console everywhere, which is fantastic. And
I get that vibe of those good old days of having LAN parties and bringing a bunch of consoles together or PCs, hooking them all up and having that kind of fun. And I think Nintendo's really selling that point in this video. You can see them; they're planning for an esports organization. This part's bizarre, by the way. I don't know why they went with Splatoon for this, but
it's very bizarre.
Smash Brothers, which is their esport title. But hey, who knows? Maybe 5 years from now, we're going to be kicking ourselves in the ass because we didn't think Splatoon would be the big thing.
It's very possible.
So shifting focus a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about the hardware itself, because there's one thing that is very obvious about this. Besides maybe the Wii U, this is probably the most unique hardware we've ever seen for a console, and that brings with it a lot of concerns. The big one, I would say, is price. We have some rumors floating around. Again, like I said, it's early December, so we've seen a couple of mentions that the price is going to settle in competitively with the PlayStation and Xbox right now. I don't know how I feel about, if that's the price, I'm going to feel like the hardware is probably going to be a little underpowered. And that makes me very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Right now they're saying whenever it's not docked, it's essentially like 900p at most, maybe, and then when it is docked, it's around 1080p. Definitely not 4K for sure. And even then, you'd have to kind of wonder if it's able to play games at least 900p. What's the extent? Like, how long can you have this thing active before you have to charge it and dock it again? Because I can't imagine.
Even my 3DS, which is much less power hardware-wise than this device, which is basically a tablet. It makes me nervous that this thing's battery life is not going to last me an entire flight like this guy's taking.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's just sort of like, all right, you basically just made an amazing kind of versatile gaming tablet, which is great because it actually has controller support. But I don't know. I see this as another consumer budgeted tablet in a way more so than anything, and I feel like that's kind of the wrong impression to be giving off on it.
No, I agree. I kind of feel like we're definitely going to get that device that is not... even we're watching Skyrim a lot in this trailer, which Todd Howard recently came out and said that he loved it. He played it at E3. He thought it was great. So I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Bethesda's games on there at least. And obviously Skyrim. But I'm feeling like we're going to not get the latest Skyrim that just came out on the PS4 and Xbox. That's the HD remastered version, boosted graphics, and it's still only running 30 frames per second. I really doubt on a piece of portable hardware that we're going to get that same performance. We are definitely going to get an inferior version of Skyrim on the Nintendo Switch, and that's a 5-year-old game.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will do whatever they can as far as third-party support in terms of those older games to kind of make it look a little bit better. But at the end of the day, you're not getting what we're having now for the higher-end consoles. It's just, I just don't see it happening.
Well, talking about third-party support a little bit, that was without a doubt the biggest problem with the Wii U and the Wii even. Is because of the hardware disparities between the PlayStation, the Xboxes, and the Wii Nintendo units. and even because Nintendo has to split its attention across two hardware setups, the DS and the Wii, third-party support is virtually non-existent. Yeah, I saw Ubisoft was very into it at the beginning. They've also pledged that same support, which I imagine is going to trail off after the Switch launches. But I'm worried that Nintendo's not going to be able to capture third-party support because they have unique hardware once again.
Yeah. And I know as of recent, it did seem like a lot more of the third-party companies seem to be at least pretty much on board, which is saying a lot more than it did for the Wii U for sure, because when that was announced, I don't recall a single third-party company being like, yeah, this is going to be great, we're going to totally be on board for this.
Yeah, we saw Ubisoft say, like, okay, this looks interesting. They released Zombie U, which was a cool game, and Rayman Origins, or was it Legends, sorry.
I want to say Legends.
To the Wii. But eventually that trailed off. Now both games are multi-plat. And I think Ubisoft was super on board initially, but when they saw it wasn't quite selling like the Wii was, they definitely backed off and started removing support from that platform. Even the 3DS, though, which is a platform that has a huge install base, doesn't see a lot of third-party support because developers have to choose between making something for PlayStation and Xbox or making something for this one thing. I think that business-wise doesn't work out for them. So, third-party support is definitely something I'm afraid of for Nintendo here. I know they're courting developers heavily. I know they've had a lot of behind-the-door meetings. At the end of the day, I know this is going to be another platform that you get because you want to play Nintendo games, and that's just fine. But can you really live off of one new game every 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, and even then, how are we going to know that's even an actual new game and not like a recycled game that we've already played?
Wii U has been a dumping ground for recycled or HD remakes and things like that. And even, I love Nintendo games, but at the same time, lately they haven't been, and this is arguable, the same quality that we've seen in the past. Like the new Star Fox game for Wii U just definitely dropped the ball in a lot of places.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to say that because it's just like, this is something that people have been wanting. They wanted a new Star Fox game, and ultimately we got this is what Star Fox 2 would have been if we could have made it back then. And here's some tweaks to it to incorporate the gamepad, and it's like, I mean, it was a novel attempt, but it just didn't seem like you guys put a lot of, effort into it that we were hoping for, and that's kind of concerning.
And time again, you see Nintendo making these mind-boggling decisions. They don't really. It kind of screams that they aren't in sync with what their fandom wants or what players are asking for. The latest Metroid game is a great example. People really wanted a new Metroid, and what did we get? We got a
Federation Force
style arena shooter, and we played it, and it was fine, but it wasn't a Metroid game. It wasn't what people were asking for. Same with Star Fox. We wanted a Star Fox like Star Fox 64. What we got was this bizarre, I have to move my controller and look at two screens at the same time, kind of experiment. When it comes, or Paper Mario is another great example. That's another series that they don't seem to have any idea what to do with. But I think that Nintendo makes some very bonkers choices sometimes with their franchises. And outside of Mario, I can't think of very often which a Mario game isn't a fun game to play, or a Zelda game isn't a fun game to play. But still, they make some very weird choices with some of their franchises.
Yeah, and ultimately it also comes down to what do people want, and it's always going to be Mario, Zelda, and maybe an off-brand shoot of something else, but it's never so much anymore like the other classics that people grew up with, and it does kind of seem like, in a way, that their ideas are just stuck on the 3 main choices, which, in all fairness, is fine as long as you can reinvent it and make it fun. That's kind of all that really matters, but at the same time, though, it doesn't really help support the system for long. And if they're only going to be doing that for the system, then what's going to make somebody want to have this over just keeping their current Wii or Wii U that they already have and picking this thing up? If I don't see anything that's going to be super compelling for me to want to go after this, then it's going to be easy for me to just write it off and not really care about it. And that's not good.
Let's shift focus a little bit on something that is one of its big selling features, and something that I also feel a little iffy about, and that's the controllers. Throughout this video, you see them using multiple different controllers. The normal ones that just clip onto the side can be combined into what I'm going to guess is a super uncomfortable tiny controller.
That's what it seems to look like, because this guy does not look like he's that happy over that.
Yeah. You can use the controllers as 2 separate controllers, which I think is a cool idea. And I think it's been confirmed now, or not confirmed, but the rumor mill is swirling that the two small controllers also have gyroscopes that can be used like Wii remotes. So I think there's a lot of cool things you can do there, and it's really cool that I have one unit I can bust out and play a multiplayer game with someone with. There's the Pro controller you saw there. There we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, and the controllers, they're kind of all over the place. We have a lot of, he's using the Pro controller. Oh no, in this one he's using 2 separate controllers.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to do that on an airplane or in public. I think it's just one of those things that you keep it as one unit and you play it. But the Pro controller, it looks great. I know that they finally offsetted the 2 joysticks. And that's something that is somebody who played with a Wii U. I've been waiting for that. It's always felt weird to have the 2 joysticks.
Up on the top and everything like that, because it kind of is a reminiscence of like a PSP in a way.
yeah. It's again one of those kind of weird choices where, why did the PSP have 2 sticks to begin with? But
exactly.
Another thing they're really kind of selling on this is the idea of esports, and this is one of those things. I think every company they look at esports and they say, okay, we need to be on board with this. This is a thing that is happening. It's a huge business, and we need to get our money in there, or else it's going to pass us up. And I see a lot of companies do it completely wrong. I see a lot of companies fail at it, or just have totally weird ideas, throwing everything at the wall. Do you think Nintendo could position themselves as an esports company?
If given the opportunity and they actually found something in the realm that, because it does obviously seem like, from the representation of the video, that they would probably be...
Hey, sorry about that. We had a quick video crash. We're back and we were talking about esports.
Esports.
Yeah. Do you really think that Nintendo is going to be able to position themselves as an esports company with this?
So I feel like they could honestly do their best to try and get into it, but again, I think it boils down to what Nintendo views as something that they could back up in terms of esports. Like, I don't see them kind of like just randomly going on about signing up with a pro team that's out there currently. Like, they would have to be playing a Nintendo product or something that they could, say like, hey, it's still kind of family friendly, even if it is an esport, as opposed to like, yeah, we're just going to sponsor a Counter-Strike Global Offensive team because why not?
That's never going to happen. To me, that's why Nintendo will never be able to break the esports scene, is that they don't in any way back up their fandom. A great example is, their YouTube takedown notices. We're playing this video. This will probably be get a YouTube takedown.
Yeah, because we're saying Nintendo so much.
Yeah, exactly. The fan-made games, a Pokemon game got taken down. Nintendo is just kind of, they're very much the Disney. They have a very protective image.
Yes.
But at the same time, they go after totally the wrong things. And I think that with esports, which is something that got its kind of its bread and butter from mods. It got Counter-Strike that started off as a mod. Dota was a mod. Esports is a scene that is kind of existed outside of companies' influences, and all those big businesses are now starting to move in, and they have to be supportive of that field, not try to bully it into doing what they want it to do. Riot has really cornered the market there. Riot's figured out how to do that. I don't think Nintendo is going to be dynamic enough to quite get that. I think they're going to want so much control over it. They're not going to want to pay out prizes. They're not going to want teams that exist outside their ecosystem. They're going to have so many rules that I think nobody is going to jump into it. Even Smash Brothers, they go after Smash Brothers tournaments. They go after that mod that they were using for the Wii version of Smash Brothers to make it to balance it. Nintendo is so overreactive about those things that I think it kind of puts them in a bad position for esports. So unless they change their policies, I really don't think that esports is in their future.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, by just even watching like this short video, it does seem like at least some policies are changing. They're not being like super fast growing, but it does look like they are throwing out the probability of like we could get into this if we feel like people are interested in it enough. And that's kind of the interesting take on it, is they would never show this before. Like, even when the Wii U came out, there was still like a presence of esports. It might not, be as super huge back a couple years ago, but even still, people were doing it, participating in it, talking about it. There were tournaments going on. Mm-hmm. And to see that Nintendo even like shows anything having to do with esports, at least gives the impression that like, okay, we're considering it. It's in the back of our minds. It might not be like the thing that we're going to totally focus on, but it's there. And I think that shows they're going to attempt to try and make a push. I don't know in what way.
It definitely shows promise. It shows Nintendo recognizing this industry exists, and they need to be a part of this too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
what way that way will be, I have no idea. I kind of hope that there is somebody who is working over there that's actually like, trying to put some common sense into them, as opposed to like you guys.
Somebody in the boardroom needs to raise their hand and say, "Hey, guys." I'm also
in other words,
spoke up against friend codes. Time to listen to me.
Exactly. In other words, we don't want another George Lucas thing here, where it's like, yes, whatever he says goes. We have to. Yes, you're 100% Lucas. We worship you.
Exactly. So we're coming up on time, and I just want to get your overall take on this. Like, what? I know for me, I'm probably going to pick this up. This is, again, the device to play Nintendo games on. And all of its quirks, all of these things, at the end of the day, I want to play Smash Bros. I want to play Mario Kart, so I'm definitely going to pick one up. It's just, will this go down in history as, a success like the Wii, the N64, which wasn't that much of a success, but, is fondly remembered at least, or the Super Nintendo and NES, which were, both critically and sold a lot as well, big successes. Where does this sit for you, at least?
For me right now, I would say I'm about like 70% on buying. I still have some of my doubts just because of like, I want to know, will the controllers last? Will the hardware itself, like the screen, will that like break easy, or is that going to be sturdy? Like, it's mostly sort of like making sure that the product itself doesn't destroy after like carrying it around one day are my kind of main issues. But overall, yeah, I could honestly see myself picking this up just because, like you, it's another game for me to play my, Nintendo games on, or system rather, to play my Nintendo games on, and I'm always going to be a Nintendo fan. Like, they may get a lot of harsh criticism and everything, but they've always made products that I've actually enjoyed, regardless of how well they're selling or not.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us today, BJ. As always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you want to check out BJ's channel or his Twitter, what's your stuff at?
So my Twitch channel is Varsh1138 at twitch.tv. Same thing with my Twitter handle, Varsh1138. And YouTube channel, to be honest, I haven't like changed the name on that when they did that whole merger thing with freaking Google Plus. So it's I have no idea what the hell it's called right now. It's some weird string of numbers.
Well, no worries. We'll toss some links down in the comment section. BJ, thanks for joining us, and thank you guys for watching PreGaming. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.